One of the many Star Wars shows announced for Disney Plus in the past year is Andor, a spy thriller centered around the character first seen in the movie Rogue One, Cassian Andor. The show is set to take place a few years before the film's events. In-universe, both Rogue One and A New Hope took place in 0 BBY, that's 0 years before the Battle of Yavin. The show will be a prequel taking place between 0 and 5 BBY, and it will follow Cassian Andor during the formative years of the rebellion. This time frame within the Star Wars canon is quite turbulent, as it encompasses the events leading up to the official declaration of rebellion against the Empire and the Galactic Civil War. Quite a lot has already happened during this time, including the Star Wars Rebels TV show and a few other books and comics. And these events, depicted in these other shows and books and whatnot, may play a part in the Andor television show. The purpose of this video will be to essentially go over the major galaxy-changing events from those other stories that might directly affect the Rebel Alliance, and therefore would affect Cassian Andor. This video will contain spoilers for those things, especially for the Rebels TV show, so if you haven't seen that and don't want to be spoiled on anything, I recommend watching this at a later time. The beginning of the Rebel Alliance, before it was actually officially called the Alliance, was spearheaded by Senators Bail Organa and Mon Mothma, as well as an undercover agent codenamed Fulcrum. Fulcrum's identity was kept a secret for years, with only a few people ever being allowed to know their real name and appearance. Bail and Mon obviously knew, but beyond them, it was very clandestine. Fulcrum was actually Ahsoka Tano, but there were eventually multiple agents who went by that codename as the rebellion grew in size. Cassian Andor would go by that codename sometimes, as stated in the Rogue One visual dictionary. The rebellion was initially made of different cells, all operating in different parts of space. Because of the clandestine nature of the early rebellion against the Empire, the rebel cells had little to no contact with each other, and they didn't necessarily know that they all existed either. For example, in the Rebels TV show, the rebel cell called the Spectres were unaware of any other cells, aside from their leader, Hera Syndulla. They received their orders directly from transmissions sent by Fulcrum, who in turn acted on orders from Bail Organa and Mon Mothma. The Empire, in their attempts to root out these rebel cells, used the Imperial Senator Gall Travis to feign sympathy for the rebels. Gall Travis, secretly working for the Empire, would speak out against the Emperor and try to lure certain rebel cells into revealing themselves so that the Empire could catch them and arrest them. The Senator had been successful for a while, until he was given instruction to lure out the Spectres on the planet Lothal. The Spectres discovered his deception and escaped him and the Empire. After this, the Empire stopped sending him to root out rebel cells, and Gall Travis publicly renounced any rebellion against the Empire. It was also around this time that the Empire lost one of their workers, a Rodian named Tsibo. Tsibo was crucial to the Empire because he had access to most of their technological information, thanks to his cybernetics. Tsibo had escaped the Empire and found his way to the Rebellion, divulging much of the Empire's secrets and giving the rebels information on the Empire's technology, such as their weapons, vehicles, and armor. There is even a section in the Rebel Files sourcebook that reveals that the Rebel Alliance had a decent understanding of all of the different types of vehicles and weaponry the Empire used, which would imply that Tsibo's information was very helpful. This information leak became known as the Tsibo Incident and provided the rebellion with an advantage against the Empire. Shortly after the Tsibo Incident, the Spectre cell located on Lothal was able to hack an Imperial communications tower and beam out a message of rebellion to several surrounding star systems. The transmission had evidently also been able to reach a few other places in the galaxy. It had also been heard by several important figures in the Rebel Alliance, including Mon Mothma. The Spectres were soon after involved in a battle over Mustafar in an attempt to save one of their own members from Grand Moff Tarkin and the Grand Inquisitor. It was at this battle that the Grand Inquisitor was killed, and that one of Tarkin's personal Star Destroyers, the Sovereign, was destroyed. It was at this battle that one of the other rebel cells, Phoenix Squadron, arrived to assist, along with Ahsoka Tano, the original Fulcrum agent. It was this battle, and the destruction of Tarkin's Star Destroyer, that spurred the Empire into enforcing a stricter hold on the Outer Rim territories. Some in the Rebel Alliance held resentment toward the Spectres for prompting this, because it in turn made their actions in their own individual cells much more difficult. The Spectres eventually merged with Phoenix Squadron and spent the next year helping other people in the Outer Rim. It was on one of these relief missions that they went in search of Quarry, a Mon Calamari that lived on the planet Shantipole, who had developed a prototype ship that was quite powerful and was eventually dubbed the B-Wing. Soon after, his prototype ship was given to Bail Organa, who found a corporation sympathetic to the rebellion and agreed to manufacture more of those ships. This undertaking was referred to as Project Shantipole and was overseen by Quarry. Eventually, the Alliance would consistently utilize B-Wings during their space battles. Conversely, the Empire began using a new class of ship called the Interdictor, which was capable of locating and removing ships out of hyperspace. This was obviously a big problem for the Rebel Alliance. The Rebel cells continued to operate independently from each other, maintaining the same command structure as before, with Fulcrum giving them assignments. By this time, 3BBY, there were multiple Fulcrum agents. One of the biggest Rebel cells was the Masasi Group, led by Jan Dodonna. The Masasi Group was based on Yavin 4. Jan Dodonna was one of the higher-ups of the Rebel Alliance as a whole, and would often meet with Mon Mothma and the other Rebel leaders on Dantooine, as mentioned in the Rebel Files sourcebook. It was on Dantooine later that year where Mon Mothma would officially form the Alliance to restore the Republic, after denouncing Palpatine and leaving the Imperial Senate. Several Rebel cells met with Mon Mothma on Dantooine, answering her call of open rebellion. One such Rebel cell that did not join the Alliance were the Partisans, led by Saw Gerrera. Their actions were considered too drastic for the Alliance, and they were ostracized from their organization. According to the Rebel Files sourcebook, and as can be ascertained from the Rebels TV show, Bail Organa was not completely opposed to working with the Partisans, while Mon Mothma detested them. Bail Organa, without Mon Mothma's permission, worked with Saw Gerrera a couple times, most notably when he sent him and the Partisans to Geonosis to investigate a suspicious Imperial project. Mon Mothma eventually caught wind of this and ordered Bail to stop working with Saw. The Alliance organized their command hierarchy by creating several different branches that focused on either military operations or political dealings. These two main branches were referred to as Political High Command and Military High Command. The political branch focused on finance, supply, and relations, while the military branch was comprised of Fleet Command, Starfighter Command, Sector Command, and Intelligence. Intelligence was led by Aaron Kraken and Davitz Draven, and was the branch that Cassian Andor worked under. All of Cassian's orders came from Kraken and Draven. Okay, so those are all of the events and story beats that I thought may play a part in the Andor TV show when it eventually comes out. That was essentially the chronological history of the Rebel Alliance, just covering all of the big events as seen in some of the source books, and most notably the Star Wars Rebels TV show. I likely missed some other things, but these were the ones that I felt were the most impactful to the Rebel Alliance and the galaxy as a whole. Anyway, long video, sorry about that, but I hope it was enjoyable. Thank you for watching.